I am Olaf Larson, living in a retirement community in Mount Dora, Florida. And a few days ago, I had my 107th birthday.
Hello, my name is Larry Polifka, and I'm director of the Claude Pepper Center at Florida State University. And we're very honored to bring you this short documentary video on the life and work of Dr. Olaf Larson. We came to know Dr. Larson through connections that staff in the Claude Pepper Center have with the Larson family. Getting to know Dr. Larson was a revelatory experience for us on at least two levels. First, Dr. Larson was personally a very warm, intellectually engaged, and articulate emeritus professor from Cornell University, where he had worked for 35 years before retiring at age 65. He remained, however, very active as a rural sociologist and authored or co-authored several books before his death in November of 2017 at the age of 107. We were very much inspired by our interactions with a man who was a powerful example of how to remain fully engaged with life deep into old age. Our relationship with Dr. Larson was also revelatory at the level of his professional life as a researcher, teacher, and employee of the federal government during the development of the New Deal economic and social policies under the Roosevelt administration. Dr. Larson was a witness to and participant in the development of rural sociology as a highly respected discipline. He was also very involved in the use of scientific methods and research findings in rural sociology to shape federal and state policies designed to improve the lives of rural and small-town Americans and to strengthen the nation's agricultural economy during a period of economic distress, the Great Depression. Dr. Larson, with his colleague, Dr. Julia Zimmerman, co-authored a book about these experiences entitled Sociology and Government, the Galpin-Taylor Years in the U.S. Department of Agriculture, 1919 until 1953. He co-authored this book with his colleague just 4 years before his death. We hope the interviews that we were able to record in the summer of 2017 with Dr. Larson will give viewers some indication of the breadth of his career and how deeply he thought about how to make life better for residents in rural communities and small towns across America. Interest in this challenge has risen since the 2016 presidential election, as the media and political communities have come to recognize that there is far more to America than its booming, dynamic East and West Coasts. Dr. Larson's work over the course of an 80-plus year career can help all of us gain a far more informed understanding of rural life and a new appreciation for the value of rural and small-town communities for all of us, wherever we live.
Was there a government program with respect to surplus cotton or cotton that was used?
Well, there were a lot of poor people because we did not have the relief programs we had before. And one of the small things that was done under Hoover was the giving poor people mattresses made of the cotton that wasn't surplus.
How wide was that program?
As far as I know, it was nationwide.
So free mattresses?
Free mattresses.
For Herbert Hoover?
For free mattresses, because a lot of people didn't have mattresses.
Was that a fairly innovative program?
Completely.
How did the federal government help the small farms during the Depression through the 1930s and during World War II?
Henry Wallace was Secretary of Agriculture. His father had been Secretary of Agriculture under Hoover. Wallace brought in several people to help him. One of the persons he brought in was Rex Tugwell. He was a very change-oriented economist, and I think he had been on the Harvard staff. Wallace made Tugwell head of a new agency called the Resettlement Administration. Well, the Resettlement Administration was aimed primarily at low-income farmers who were really stranded by the hard times. After a short time, the Resettlement Administration was renamed the Farm Security Administration. And the Farm Security Administration was a major effort to help low-income farmers. The main thing was to help farmers who were already on the land. And a Farm Security Administration staff was set up in almost all counties of the United States. And each of these counties had an agricultural supervisor and a home economics supervisor to work on developing farm and home plans, which should help them. It should help them make a better living from the land and improve their home use of homegrown products. During World War II, one of the big problems, or potential problems, was a shortage of farm labor. So my agency, the Division of Farm Population and Rural Life, was in the Bureau of Agricultural Economics. And when the war broke open, there was a big discussions going on in the Department of Agriculture as it was planning and so on. And the big special assignment that the Bureau of Agriculture got was keeping track of farm labor, so farmers would have enough labor, to produce their crops. And there was the sort of a supervisory staff in every state to try to, on the one hand, help to be sure that there was farm labor available, and on the other hand, to be sure that farmers didn't overpay. Oh, there's one other thing that I should mention, which turned out to be very controversial. This was what was called land use planning. And this was, I remember very well, a meeting was called by the head of the Bureau of Agriculture Economics. Some of us were called in, and we were told the farmer committee, the idea was farmers in a county would meet, and they would try to identify what the major program needs from government were, and then that is, and turn their recommendations over to the agricultural agencies, and so they might readjust the resources, but land use planning got the Bureau of Agricultural Economics into a problem, into trouble, because some of the southern congressmen and senators didn't like. They thought it was going too far, I guess, and taking their influence away.
Any other thoughts or comments you have with respect to change in the last century on the farm or in the cities that you've seen?
Decrease in number of family farms because they've been bought out by large landowners, and where there might have been half a dozen farms, family farms or more, now there's only one. That's partly due to technology. It's also partly due to another program that I haven't mentioned, and that was the Agricultural Adjustment Administration, which started in the early 30s with the New Deal, and that program affected almost every farmer. Farmers were paid, for not producing. They would get what were called benefit payments. Like on my father's farm, we had to cut our acreage down, tobacco acreage, from 5 to 3. He had to plow up 2 acres. He had to sell one brood sow, so she wouldn't be producing pigs for the market. That AAA program was intended to provide benefit payments, to the farm operator. Well, in the South, a lot of the farms were run, they called them tenants, but if the black farmers were called tenants, they would have to get some of the AAA benefits. And so what hundreds of cotton growers did in the South was convert their sharecroppers to hired hands. And the hired hands had no benefits at all.
How important has Social Security been for you in reaching your age of 107 and your wife Claire during her lifetime?
Well, I think it was very helpful in being able to retire. I don't know whether it had anything to do with my present age. That might be stretching it a bit.
There have been some attempts to privatize Social Security recently. What do you think about that?
I think it's a lousy idea.
Why?
Well, because if you start privatizing, more people are going to be left out. More people are going to be making money off of Social Security, at least the way I see it.
As more and more baby boomers are retiring without much savings, what advice would you give to them in looking for long-term care solutions?
Well, that's not an easy question, because in order to get a long-term care solution like this one, you have to have money, a lot of money. And I don't see, many people having the resources actually to get into a place like this, unfortunately.
In the interviews you've just seen, and in his writings, Dr. Larson addresses several issues related to the development of rural sociology over a period of decades, and to the role of the social sciences in the development and implementation of public policy during the first half of the 20th century, especially during the Great Depression and the recovery from the 1930s to the 1950s. One of the most striking takeaways for us from Dr. Larson's long experience in academia, including his continuing contributions after formal retirement, and in government, is his description of how involved he and his social science colleagues were in research and policy analysis projects that influenced the formulation of policy and the administration of programs for rural and small town residents during the first half of the century. The fact that Dr. Larson and his colleagues were able to conduct research and use their findings to inform policy for 34 years stands in sharp contrast to the relative absence of these roles for the social sciences and government today. What was once, however, can be again. We are very grateful that Dr. Zimmerman and Dr. Larson were able to document this extraordinary history so thoroughly in their book, and that Dr. Larson was able to share some of his thoughts about this experience in our interviews with him last summer. We are confident that the day when systematic research and the reasoned formulation of policy are valued in government will return, guided by the life and work of Dr. Olaf Larson and his colleagues. Guidance based on their experiences from what now looks like a golden age in the relationship between the social sciences and democratic governance. Thank you.